Davey Ray and the Janks at Radio Memphis from the Endeavor record in the saddest times. Ahead of that, it was Organ Thief with Pots and Pans. 18 minutes past the hour in the midst of the nooner here on this Thursday, the 14th of April. Lovely day outside, as opposed to what it was yesterday.
God,
things got
it's
kind
horrible.
of crazy.
Man.
Yeah, well, there you go. I have an incredible story I've been watching this. I've been trying to verify the veracity of this thing, and it appears to be true.
Okay.
It's not a fake news thing, apparently. There's a lot happening with this. We'll get to it in the next break because it's a perfect candidate for that guy and these guys.
Ah, good.
And it really kind of borders into the realm of crime time. And it doesn't take place in this country, which is why I was very careful about bringing this forward.
I see, okay.
Yahoo has picked this up, as have other sources. And yes, it's wild. It's
okay.
That's all I'm going to say about that.
All right.
We'll get to crime time a little bit later on in some science news. Yesterday we spoke of the baby namer.
Yeah.
The woman with the weird job and people that give her like $10,000
to name a child.
To name their baby.
I'll do it for $20.
I'll do it for nothing.
Oh,
we'll just call him Fuckstick.
Damn it.
Damn it. Yeah, there we go. Well, that's not the end of it when it comes to weird jobs. I mean, we live in a gig economy now.
Yeah.
And I have this that comes to us from Australia. Queensland, more specifically.
All right, yeah, I actually know where that is. Never been there. But
It's a fellow by the name of Bill Edgar.
Okay.
He has an interesting job, you see. He's created a niche for himself. He's known as the Coffin Confessor.
What?
Okay, hear me out. This I'm actually kind of on board with. He gets paid to gate crash funerals on behalf of the dead. You see, what you do if you know that your end is coming, you contact this guy, you cut him a check, and he speaks for you at your funeral to say all the things you really wanted to say.
That's brilliant.
Yes, see what I mean?
No, I think that's great.
Yes. Now, he recounts one particularly mortifying experience.
Oh, God, I'd love to hear these stories.
Well, I have one here for you.
All right, let's go.
So here he said, I stand up, introduce myself. I told his best friend to sit down, shut up, and fuck off. The man in the coffin has got something to say.
Wow.
He said, you were not my best friend. You were trying to screw my wife while I'm on my deathbed, so bugger off.
Oh, wow.
And if my brother, his wife, and their daughter are at my funeral service, you can tell them to bugger off too, because I haven't seen them in 30 years. So why are they paying their respects now when they could have seen me while I was alive?
Wow.
That was his first gig.
That was his first gig. Dude, you got to have balls of steel.
You're a stranger to these people.
I know.
He just jumps in the middle of the eulogy. He stands up and says, hold up. The dead guy's got something to say. And then he introduces himself with the signed stuff. And then, wow. Since then, he's had to clean up sex dungeons, come out on behalf of a Bicky, and break the news to bickering offspring that they won't be left anything in the will for anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 a job.
Wow.
After this is weird, but after a 2-year lull because of COVID-19, you would think he'd be pretty busy right
there are a lot of deaths.
Yet another industry victim to the pandemic, the Coffin Confessor is now going international, jet-setting to the U.S. and U.K. to deliver messages from beyond the grave.
I love the idea.
He said he got into this line of work after that first story, where he's telling everybody off at his funeral.
Yeah.
The man above there, who told his friend to stop trying to screw my wife, had taken him up on an only half serious idea intended somewhat as a joke. He said, I told the gentleman as he was on his deathbed, look, I could crash your funeral for you if you don't want to do your own eulogy. And lo and behold, he took me up on the offer. He says that he's expanded the scope of his service to the home suite, where he goes to the dead's home to remove items that they didn't want their loved ones to see.
Oh, wow.
Could be sex toys, messages of hate, love, whatever it is they've written down that they want removed from their web browsers. He said one gentleman had what you could only describe as a sex dungeon in one of his bedrooms. And that gentleman was 88 years of age, believe it or not. So, yeah, good on him.
Wow.
So you hired this guy to come, tear it out before
get rid of this.
Before his family freaked out.
Dude, I see a whole industry right here.
At the end of the day, he says, he was single and he did what he wanted to do. There were a lot of items I had to remove and incinerate, and it was all because he didn't want his 3 sons to find out that kind of paraphernalia in his home. He spoke on a recent podcast about all of this. Mr. Egger also recounts the time he was paid by a gay man to reveal that he was actually bisexual and in love with a man who was in the room at that time. Why he turned down a job for a man who wanted to die with his dog, and what he does when someone confesses to a crime.
Oh.
Mr. Egger, after releasing a book about his experiences in 2021, says his story has been picked up by Paramount for a movie release and that he's been contracted for television shows. He says he'd like to be played by Ryan Reynolds in a movie. I can see that.
That's the only person that could probably pull that off.
With that dry... Yes.
I'd love to see that.
And would Bill Egger like his own coffin confessor when his time comes? Obviously. He says, but I'm going to leave me coughing up with heaps of fireworks when it goes into the furnace. I hope.
I like this guy.
Yes.
I like this plan.
Yes. If you would like to hear his stories, there's a 15-minute podcast called I've Got News for You. That's the name of the show, and the episode is titled The Coffin Confessor Paid to Gate Crash Funerals. And it's him telling these stories, and he talks about his book. But, the show is called I've Got News for You. Clever.
I've got news for you. I like it.
And he's, clearly carved out a bit of a business for himself.
Obviously, and there's a need for it, apparently.
Well, yeah, because
we don't get to get everything off our chest sometimes.
And not everybody wants to know the whole story at the point, so...
Yeah, they don't, but...
Dude, I went to a funeral one time.
Talk about having to get the last word.
I know, that's the way it works. I didn't want to go to this funeral because this particular individual was not a nice man.
Mm.
He was an acquaintance of those. I got dragged to this thing. The wife was like, come on, you need to go. Okay. He had been cremated, apparently. So there was this urn at the front of this was, they had the visitation, and he's at the front of this little chapel-y looking thing. Mm-hmm. And these people came in and they spoke, and they were saying all of these things. And I leaned over to the wife and I said, are we at the right place? Because I don't know this man they're talking about.
They were saying nice things?
They were saying incredibly nice things and stuff that thinking, was like, wow, I'd never heard these stories before.
Not like that.
No, what is all of this? Come to find out later, he was the urn was empty. They hadn't even cremated him yet. He wasn't even at his own visitation.
He was late.
He was late to his own funeral.
Yeah.
He was late wherever he went. He was a scam artist. He was a bastard.
Well, that was obviously a scam too. He wasn't even in the urn.
No, yeah. It was a surreal experiment.
That's weird.
But I like this. I like the cut of this guy's cloth over here.
I do too. I think this is a brilliant idea.
Speak for the dead.
And I think everybody should do that. May piss a bunch of people off, but you may see more of this happening.
He's the Eulogist.
Yeah.
There's the title for your film, Paramount.
There you go.
The Eulogist.
That's right.
Yeah.
We only want 20%.
Just cut us in a little bit there, Bear, Daddy-O.
The Eulogist, yes. That's
Eulogist.
a perfect name.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hell,
wow.
I'll be more than happy to star in your little flick. I have no problem saying the things that some
No,
people
I
would
know
say.
you don't. If it's written down and handed to you, you're going to read it as written.
That's correct, sir.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what
and
we
that
do
would be
in
the
this
way
business.
to do it. You don't want to ad-lib something like that. You go out there and you show that you have the last word.
Right.
The last word. Listen up.
None of this is improv. This is all from the script.
Yep. That's the way it goes. And it's
You're
better.
a dick, and you're a dick, and you're a bitch.
It's better to do it that way than to point a camera at somebody on their deathbed and have them talk. They're not going to be thinking necessarily correctly, and they're certainly not going to speak it well. And that's probably a bit much. But having a guy come in and tell the story,
think that's a tasteful way to do it.
It's
also a little.
It's a bit tacky, I know.
It's tacky, but tasteful. I don't know. I kind of like it because it stings.
Speaking of tacky,
sting.
I have a friend who used to work in the mortuary business here in Memphis, and she was telling me about this. One of the new things that, not necessarily new, but one of the things that a lot of funeral homes are doing, they're acquiring catering licenses and liquor licenses.
Liquor license. We've talked about that.
Yeah, and they, which is fine, whatever.
Which seems bizarre, but okay.
But hey, I'm there. I've been to a couple of these things. Not so bad. I think I'll have a margarita.
Yeah.
Everybody's a bit freaked out, so let's have a glass of wine or a cold beer or
just a little bit.
Little scotch and soda, whatever. But they also have this. There's a group of people in this area that are professional mourners. And I was kind of taken aback. I was taken aback by this. And these are people who they're hired by the family. And they go to the funeral.
I've heard of this,
and they weep. They lose their minds. Oh my God, he's dead. I can't believe this is going on. And it's strange. I guess it's to show that Uncle Freddie, who's dead, was actually a little more popular than he was actually. So he had people that actually gave a shit about him.
That's bizarre.
It is very bizarre.
That's really strange.
Yeah, and that's a thing. And then there's the dove guy.
Oh, yeah. We talked about the dove.
Where he releases doves at the graveside, and then afterward he's got to go track them down out of trees and shit,
Right.
Sometimes they just say, screw it, I'm out of here, and they go fly off.
That's just
Yeah.
Yeah, it is strange.
The funerary business has a lot of side gigs that are happening.
Well, didn't used to be. You died.
And that was it. They stuck you in the ground.
You stuck you in the ground.
Adios.
And now
you're gone.
Before you know it, there's going to be live bands at funerals.
They do that. There's musicians. There's dude. There's a bar at the. Of course, there's going to be.
I know.
Why not?
That's just. I just find that. I don't have a problem with it. I don't know that I could. Well, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It just seems a bit odd.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess slightly uncomfortable. But realistically, I think about New Orleans funerals.
Sure,
they're playing jazz and they're doing the procession. Yeah, that's to celebrate the life.
They start off sad, but then it ends on a high note.
and then it ends on a high note, right? About 2 octaves higher than that.
I know, but I have testicles, so there's that.
Yeah, and so I think that's kind of cool. And I guess if you want to make your funeral a party,
why not? I wouldn't mind having a kegger at mine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want a bunch of people mourning. I want them to go, remember when he slipped down on the floor and twisted his ankle?
You remember that time when he was at the whorehouse? What? But having the eulogist come along and go, you know what? All of y'all are fucked.
Yes.
That's brilliant.
I love it.